Shadow of the 501st. This stupid podfic that has been in the works for 2 years. Featuring True Sons of Mandalore as Captain Rex and Shenanigan Skywalker as Ahsoka Tano. Ahsoka curled up in the folds of her cloak, the last remnants of sleep slipping from her grasp. She closed her eyes, and darkness blotted out the starless night sky enveloping the moon. She could almost imagine it was all one long, surreal dream. Ahsoka tried to retreat into the Force and center herself in the vibrant energy pulsing around her, but all she found was a blank, hollow void glaring back at her. No light, no shelter, only death and confusion and an evil rotting the fabric of the universe at its core. And vague traces of all the Jedi, where she used to sense the distinctly familiar presence of her friends. Master Yoda, Lo, Obi-Wan, and even Anakin. Now the Force felt empty, distorted. The galaxy, the Republic, the life she thought she knew, all uprooted and dismantled in the course of a day. She breathed in the tainted smell of smoke and earth, and blinked against the waning flames of the small fire. At the base of the Y-Wing, just past the reach of the fire's glow, Rex's spot was empty. Pulling herself to her feet, Ahsoka steadied her balance against the side of the fighter. In the distance, she could make out the jagged outline of the crashed Venator etched across the sky. Below it, steeped in the shadows of the flickering wreckage, a makeshift graveyard stretched across the clearing. Marred helmets stood in silent commemoration of the men who lay in shallow graves under them. After 2 days and nights of non-stop searching, she and Rex had recovered as many of their men as they could find. Ahsoka wished she could unsee it all. She hoped the images would fade over time. But something told her they wouldn't. On top of that, Rex had barely spoken a word the entire process. Drawing the hood of her cloak over her head, Ahsoka picked her way across the ruins under the looming silhouette of the Republic cruiser. The ground dipped and leveled out as she neared the gravesite. It was not until she reached the edge of the clearing that she saw Rex's dark form huddled at the foot of a grave. She stepped closer. Either Rex did not hear her approach, or simply ignored it because he did not look up. She ought to step to his side, say something, anything, but her feet refused to carry her any farther. Ahsoka lifted her gaze to the helmet propped up at the head of the grave. Her heart turned to stone as she recognized the familiar Republic emblem painted in deep blue across the front. Jesse. She remembered the incomprehensible pain on Rex's face as he cradled his lifeless brother. They had found him soon after the crash. At least there was some comfort in knowing he hadn't suffered. Because some of the clones weren't so lucky. Rex?
Hey, kid.
Ahsoka eased forward and sank to the ground beside Rex. Guilt gnawed at her as she met his blank expression. It was grim, thoughtful. Some might even mistake it as stoic, but Ahsoka knew better. Ahsoka placed her palms flat on the upturned earth. It drew her in, making her aware of the smallest tremors of life, the cold stillness of death intertwined in the atmosphere around them. The absence of so many lives that had been snuffed out before their time should have come.
Why aren't we over there too, Ahsoka?
I don't know.
I should be there beside them. I should be dead. Not my men.
His angst was infectious. What if they hadn't made it out alive? Or even worse, what if she had made it out without Rex? Would his helmet now stand propped up at the center of the gravesite? His among the countless bodies buried today? Rex ran his fingers across the bandage on his head, where the inhibitor had been not so long ago.
I let them down. All of them. If only I had listened.
Rex.
I almost wish.
Rex, stop! Ahsoka reached out, attempting to steady him in reality. Before she could, Rex frantically pushed her hand away and recoiled further into the shadows.
No. I don't want to hurt you. I didn't.
You've never hurt me, Rex.
I almost killed you. What if I snapped again, and you weren't able to stop me?
That won't happen. It's over.
Is it?
Of course, Ahsoka knew the answer was no. She wasn't sure what tomorrow would hold. She didn't want to know. Instead of answering, Ahsoka worked her fingers into his clenched fist. She felt the tension release slightly as she cupped both of his hands in her own. This time, He did not pull away. "You saved me, remember?" Ahsoka stared up into his guilt-ridden face. She searched his expression, noting the look of eclipsed hope in his bloodshot eyes. The crippling fear of turning again, losing the one thing he had left in the galaxy. The scars of witnessing so much carnage and being unable to stop it. Sometimes it was easy to forget he was younger. For the clones, there was no such thing as a normal life. It was shortened, stripped in so many ways. Battle after battle, they fought and died in a conflict that should not be their own. In 3 years of war, they had experienced more than most people did in a lifetime. How many times had her own men hidden their pain behind the visor of a helmet because no one knew or even cared? How often had Rex retreated into himself, and she had not taken the time to notice?
Ahsoka, I hope you know I never meant to. I would never mean to hurt you.
It isn't your fault, Rex. I'm alive because of you.
It's because of Fives.
A heartbeat of silence passed between them, and for the first time, Ahsoka noticed traces of dried blood streaked across Rex's face. Blood that wasn't his own. She remembered Jesse, her company, the family they had both loved and lost. They had been through so much already, and she would not lose him now. Ahsoka eased closer and wrapped her arms around Rex's neck, each movement intentionally slow and gentle to avoid startling him again. Rex gave her a wary look. She knew what he was thinking. If he relapsed, how easy would it be to harm her now that she was so close? Ahsoka nestled her head against his collar, trying to alleviate the fear that was holding him back. Finally, she felt Rex's arms cross over her back as he reluctantly returned the embrace. "I won't leave you. Not this time." It was strangely reminiscent of what she had wanted to tell Anakin, but never got the chance. Ahsoka felt her throat tighten at the thought of her old master. Had he sensed the betrayal before Order 66 was issued? Would he have been able to escape in the heat of battle, or did the clones just gun him down before he had the chance to put up a defense? Ahsoka pushed down the thought, certain that it would resurface again. She could only hold out hope that Anakin was still alive, somehow. Now all she and Rex had was each other, a haunted soldier and a fallen Jedi, alone in a galaxy that wanted them dead. Rex then loosened his holds and his arms fell free. Ahsoka pulled back to meet his gaze.
When we were searching for survivors, I was almost hoping there wouldn't be any. For someone to live through that and suffer. I mean, how could you take care of someone who hates you? Wants you dead? Without the right supplies, would we just wait for them to die?
I don't know. But Rex, I do know we did everything in our power to save them. Everything we could have done. Rex contemplated her words. The anger and frustration seemed to melt away, leaving in its place only broken thoughts and pure exhaustion. Ahsoka noticed a resolute, almost hopeful glint in his eyes that had not been there before.
It's just that, despite everything, you're what a Jedi is supposed to be.
No, she wanted to tell him. A Jedi would have warned the Council of what Maul said. A Jedi would have called Anakin before it was too late. Rex, when I left the Order, it wasn't out of bravery. I don't know what it was exactly, I just didn't know what to do at the time. Despite what happened, the Jedi are still my family. And I left them and you and all my men when they needed me the most. Especially Anakin. I just don't want you to think I'm something that I'm not.
I never thought you were perfect. I don't expect that of anyone. But your heart is in the right place, Ahsoka. And that's more than can be said for most people in this galaxy. You learn from the best of the Jedi, after all.
Ahsoka was too overwhelmed by her own swirling thoughts to give a suitable reply. Rex rose to his feet, offering Ahsoka help up.
Better get some sleep.
They stood together for one long, bitter moment, looking out over their family's final resting place. Ahsoka resolved to remember each of the soldiers for the special times they had shared, not the betrayal that had marked the end. And tomorrow?
Tomorrow, we start over.
The end.